My name is Christine Palfrey. I was diagnosed in 2013 with adenoid cystic carcinoma in my lower left submandibular. It did come out of the blue, as I think it does for all people that go through a form of cancer or any illness. And it was a huge struggle with my daughter at that point. She was 12, and her dad and I weren't in a great relationship, so we had challenges there as well. But we worked through it, and nearly 9 years on, and there has been more treatment, and as recent as this year. So back in 2013, when I felt a little bit ill, I had a cold that just wouldn't push past. I also was feeling quite fatigued. I put that down to exercise. And I also felt some discomfort in my lower left jaw. And being an ex-qualified dental nurse, I just thought it was a wisdom tooth. Woke up one Sunday morning, absolute pain. Went to see a dentist that morning, took the x-ray, and we could see there was an abnormal area. Having been working in that field, the dentist's face pretty much said it all. I got home and I went for a run. So it was the only way I could actually deal with it at that point. From that, I then went into surgery for 12 hours, then had 6.5 weeks of radiotherapy, that was the hardest, I have to say. If I have to do radiotherapy again, I'd have to seriously think about it. With radiotherapy, the toughest part is the stages where it builds. So over the 6 weeks, you feel okay, and then wham, suddenly it's like a juggernaut has hit you. You can't taste, you can't eat, weight just fell off. And I looked like a skeleton by the end, pretty much. And it took every ounce of energy just to get up every day to go to radiotherapy, because it was 5 days a week over the 6.5 weeks. But we got through it. My mouth was full of ulcers. People turn around and they go, "Oh, I've got an ulcer." It's like, that's not an ulcer. That's nothing. So yeah, I remember crying because I couldn't eat lasagna, which is my favourite food. So, but yeah, radiotherapy was the toughest out of all of it. The surgery, seeing my face change, they never prepared me for that. So I went in with one face that I'd known for 30 odd years and come out with a different one. Seeing my daughter after surgery, that was extremely tough because I couldn't talk, I couldn't actually walk, and I couldn't eat. And she walked into the room, and the only thing I finally had the emotion at that point was the energy to cry, which was very, it still gets me now. If I met someone, which I recently have, she was only diagnosed this year, but she'd had the treatment with ACC. If someone was to ask me the questions around it, I think the way they played it, the oncology team, was correct. Because if they had have told me the in-depth of what was going to happen, I'd never have gone in. I think less is more sometimes, for me, but some people, they want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. I must admit, when I went for the radiotherapy, so I got through the surgery, and they told me at that point all my nodes were clear. I found out years later that wasn't factually true, but I said, well, my nodes are clear, I'm not going to go in for radiotherapy. So radiotherapy finished in 2013. I then had a suspicion with no real symptoms that something wasn't quite right. And I was going back every 6 months for scans, PET and CT. And then in 2015, I did have the full scan, and they found that there was mets in my left lung. We went and removed that. And since that, I was having scans again every 6 months, moved to 9 months. And then 2 years ago from this year, they found more mets in my right lung. We decided to see how that developed because they were small. There was only 3 of them. And then this year, I was diagnosed with mets in my right lung. It was one specific cancer cell, tumour growing, but it was right near my heart, so we decided to go ahead. So this year, I've had, in 8 years, all in all, 4 treatments, I call them, and this year was probably the biggest one since the original cancer developed. So through, I think through any illness that anyone gets, whether it's cancer, etc., you'll deal with it in very different ways. I pretty much made the decision right at the start that I was going to live life and not the cancer. You do see people who live with an illness, which is sad, but they have to deal with it in their way. I do my exercise, my running, rowing, weight training, etc. That does help massively. But in all honesty, it is living day to day. I am in 80% of pain most days. Today's a good day. I'd say it's dropped a little bit, but you can guarantee by the end of the day I'll be back up there. I don't take any over-the-counter medication or doctor's medication. I try and do everything natural as much as I can, eat a healthy diet. But one of the good things is, through all this, I'm actually getting married at the end of November. So good things can happen even in dark times. So as my famous saying is to people, Carpe Diem. One of the really key things I do, like I said, don't touch smoothies while you go to radiotherapy. I do religiously have fresh fruits and fresh veg every day. I do use green tea, but I do use a high level of powder in it. I do use Manuka honey, and again, I use a very high level. It's not cheap. I am fortunate that I can afford it. But I think even if you can't, you could make small changes. But all our DNA is different. So it's just finding your own path. There's no real answer for anyone, but definitely things that don't have soup. Tomato soup. So Salivary Cancer UK, I don't really research it, I have to be honest, purely because I think it would cause me my health and well-being worry if I kept researching this information. I know it would, to be perfectly honest, but my partner does. He does, and he'll come to me when he thinks there's something I need to see. So we will look at that point in time. But what has helped is a lady that I've met this year, bless her, was diagnosed. She had nothing, similar to I had no way of knowing anything about it, about salivary gland cancer, and it's really helped her. So I can see already it's going to make a difference to so many people out there that are sadly going to come into connection with this cancer. My biggest thing to everyone is like, don't live the illness, but everyone's going to be different. If you let it do that, I think I've seen people where it's consumed, and sadly we've lost them a lot sooner. So I think, yeah, try and embrace as much as you can, but do have your down days. Everyone has them. I had mine on Tuesday. I cried for no reason. So, yeah, you're human at the end of the day.